The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Alright, we are here for another Soccer to the Max Special Edition World Cup preview of Group G. Just one more left after this. One more, and then we'll give you all our predictions all the way to the final, who we think is going to win, all that stuff. Doing another little flashback there to the 2014 World Cup with another Shakira once again had the U.S. and World Anthem with that. Probably what a lot of people thought was annoying, the La 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 song. That was just her saying La 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 a million times. So, it's still pretty good. Better than the Will Smith thing. They are.
Especially because her hips still don't lie.
No, well, PK is a lucky man, I'm going to say. So.
Someone else I wanted to punch in the face, just for different reasons.
Anyway, we talked about enough scandal on the last one, so. We'll avoid that with this one, unless we want to talk about Big Sam being fired as the England coach at one point. But, yeah, so this is another group that's rather top-heavy. Very much like what we talked about with Group F. You have two squads, one that's historically gets out of the group stage and then absolutely just crashes and burns, and one that's going to have been a late riser the last two or three World Cups, especially with this, golden generation that Belgium has been going through. So it's really going to be a battle between these two because Tunisia has unfortunately lost their best player due to injury. So they're really having to make up numbers. And you also have a Panama team who could just be happy to be here. Their first ever World Cup, lights could be too big and bright, or maybe they just completely surprise. Maybe they're the Costa Rica of CONCACAF this go around. But let's begin here with Belgium. Rachael, a experienced coach that we know well from the Premier League, and that Roberto Martinez leads a star-studded group here for Belgium. You would think that with all this talent, they're getting out of this group because it's just, once again, a team that's absolutely, especially in various parts of the field, they're loaded.
And a lot of Premier League players. You've got two from Manchester United, two from Manchester City, Tottenham Hotspurs, Chelsea, Liverpool. I mean, this is a loaded team. You have a couple German players. You have the Hazard brothers. You have both Eden and Torgan Hazard. So it's, star-studded to say the least about that roster. I mean, there's a lot of names that just really pop out. A lot of players with double-digit caps. In the midfield, there's only 3 players with less than double digits, 2 players with 8. Forward, all double digits. Defense, only 1 without double-digit caps, and that's Derek Boyata. And there's only 1 uncapped player, and that's their third-string goalkeeper, Cohen Casteels from VfL Wolfsburg in the German Bundesliga, 25 years old. This is a very experienced team, a very strong team, but the big thing that you're looking at is this squad going to be okay if somebody gets injured? I mean, we've already seen Vincent Kompany, defender, he's a little bit questionable right now. He's on the final roster, but he has a groin injury. I think we mentioned off the show that those can linger. So all eyes are on him right now to make sure he gets better, that he gets healthy. They've had a few friendlies recently. Today, actually, they just played Egypt, and they won the match 3-0. They faced Portugal on June 2nd to a 0-0 scoreless draw, and they faced Saudi Arabia all the way back in March for a 4-0 victory. They know how to play soccer. They know how to play soccer well. One result that I found interesting while looking back, well, two results actually, both were 3-3 draws, one against Mexico, one against the home nation of Russia. So it'll be interesting to see if they make it out of the group stage, which I'm fairly confident that they will, how they do in the knockout rounds.
Yeah, that fixture against Mexico drew a huge ire from Belgium fans of why was that a draw? It should not have been. And it started, I think, a little bit of questioning of Roberto Martinez's tactics, including from Kevin De Bruyne himself, the magical one, who thought that Mexico just absolutely was tactically set up better and outclassed them at times. And you think that you're not going to get that from a Tunisia or a Panama. But, you know, when you play England, and you do have people that are experienced against England, so that might give them the nod. But once you get out of the group stage, that's a whole different deal that you're looking at there. Maybe you're looking at a Colombia or perhaps a Poland that you're playing in that next round, and that's not necessarily, that's not mincemeat that you're having to go through. So, again, you'd think your talent would get you through on there, but they might be in for a rude awakening if Roberto Martinez is not locked in, I think, rather quickly. So, yeah, Belgium are really reliant on De Bruyne setting up things, as he did for Manchester City for most of the season, and he had a heck of a season himself. It's weird that he decided to go with Witzel again instead of Raja Nainggolan, who was somebody that I think a lot of people wanted to play next to De Bruyne. The fans really wanted him to play better, or play there. Martinez chose not to, so he's relying on both those guys and the very experienced backline. And it's actually really sad to hear about Vincent Kompany, because remember last time he had a long period of being injured and didn't play for almost a year and a half. It took him a long time to get back from that injury. So to possibly not be fit for this World Cup that's disappointing. If he can't come back in time. But they do have other players, as Rachel brought up. And let's not forget about one of the best goalkeepers in the entire world, and Thibaut Courtois as well, to cover them if somebody does get behind that back line. So that's another plus for Belgium as well. But moving on to the other favorite in this group, England. Look, I think we've talked about the riches that they went through in the under 20s, under 17s, under 21s, under 19s. All those teams won championships or did really well in a very short span of time. And they basically promoted Gareth Southgate as manager to try to take that success and bring it to the main national team. It's quite apparent that he's a little bit different than most of the other managers. He doesn't just go and, do that old conversation that used to go around of, well, you have to pick Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard together. They have to play. And Gareth Southgate said, look, we're going to go with the younger team. I don't care if all these pundits think that I need to take Joe Hart. He played terribly at goal all year. You're not going, buddy. Jack Wilshere, sit down. You're not going either. So he's got only 3 players over the age of 30 on this squad. Gary Cahill, Jamie Vardy, of course, the longtime Leicester man, and Ashley Young. Everybody else is in the younger ages. And, of course, when you have Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling leading the line, that's a nice little combo there. And then you've got the guys that are going to be behind him, and Dele Alli, who plays with him there at Tottenham. I think this England's squad could be one of those that maybe people are thinking, oh, it's just going to be England again. They're going to do their thing. But I say watch out. I think England could be one of those surprise teams in this tournament that, maybe even over Belgium. We're sitting here going, oh, Belgium's so talented. They're going to get through, but and they're going to beat everyone in this group. If Jordan Pickford, whether it's Jack Butland or Jordan Pickford in goal, if one of those guys can make some key saves, I worry a little bit about the defense. But if England can score some goals, and they have the talent to do so, I think watch out. Watch out for England.
If you were ever looking for that perfect, sneaky little dark horse, England is it. Because how they developed this team, even going back to everything in the Euros, what went on in qualifying now, you said it best. It's a holistically different approach. Gareth Southgate is saying, look, I've got a football talent-rich country. I'm not just going to pick names for the sake of names. I've got my system. I'm going to pick the best 11, best 18, best 23. We're going to run that system and see what happens. And I think he's the kind of guy that's going to do it just right to where maybe a deep knockout stage run isn't out of the question.
Yeah, I think definitely with what we have left to talk about in this group, if they somehow don't get through, once again, we're talking about a catastrophe happen. Just like all of a sudden, Harry Kane went absolutely into a goal drought. Marcus Rashford did nothing. Danny Welbeck did nothing. The defense just absolutely caved. I mean, crazy things could happen, but it's just, I just don't see it. Like, they have enough talent. They should be getting through, and again, I think all you need is that one win when you get to that knockout round. That first win in the knockout round sometimes is all you need, and you get hot, and it propels you into maybe a semifinal spot or something for England. I don't want to overhype things for the England fans. I'm sure the English media are already doing that enough right now. They love to do that. But I don't think they're wrong in this case with England.
They're really not. And they're at this stage of the World Cup cycle where everybody thinks, oh, hey, we're going to win it. And then they get to that first group stage match and it's like, oh, hey, we're god-awful. No, I think that first group stage match, that's going to prove everybody kind of right. It's like, well, hey, maybe we really can finally win this again. So,
yeah, and I'm just going to touch on Panama here really quick before Erik gets to Tunisia. Listen, I think we have a bit more familiarity with them because we watched them in the Hex. We watched them, their goal that should not have gone in, wind up contributing. Obviously, the Roman Torres goal, which was a cracker in its own right, and his celebration afterwards, well-deserved. All that broke our hearts at the same time, but I think they might be kind of stuck in that moment because if you look at their record of friendlies and games from March on, the number one factor that they have a problem with is scoring goals. They scored a total of 1 goal, and this is playing another CONCACAF opponent in Trinidad and Tobago in April, in 6 games. They lost to Denmark 1-0. They got absolutely creamed by Switzerland in Switzerland 6-0. They beat Trinidad and Tobago in Trinidad and Tobago, but look, again, they're used to playing this opponent. No big deal. They're nillers in Panama against Northern Ireland, and they lost 1-0 to Norway today, actually. So, and it's in Norway, but it looks like defensively they're organized, they're parking the bus, whatever you want to call it, but they're not putting in goals. And you have to, you're talking about Lukaku and Harry Kane coming at you. And that's not just, that's just 2 guys we're talking about. Rashford, Sterling, Eden Hazard, like so many freaking guys on Belgium that we could, Fellaini. I mean, you are talking about some of the best in the world coming at you. And you're not counterattacking on the other end. You're not putting in anything on the other end. You are setting yourself up to get absolutely creamed. And,
yeah.
I feel like that's what's going to happen in Panama. They're either going to lose 1-0 or they're going to get blown out of at least 2 games.
Yeah, everybody remembers that quaint little run Costa Rica had in Germany in 2006. That's the kind of situation that are happening at best if you're Panama. Go there, have some fun, play your 3 matches, try to learn what you can, don't humiliate yourselves, and go home.
Yeah, I mean, you're still employing Blas Perez up front. I mean,
well, hey, again,
I love Blas Perez. He played for FC Dallas, but he is a classic, let me see how close to the offside line I can be the whole time. And a lot of times that just absolutely doesn't work for the guy.
Well,
and even then, he's 37.
Well, a perfect parallel to Costa Rica in 2006. Paulo Wanchope,
yeah,
his last match for Los Ticos, and oh, by the way, he scored a header where he was clearly offside. Who's to say Blas Perez and that final group match won't do something similar?
Well, let's see. We got VAR involved this time, so...
Well, no, it didn't count because they knew he was offside and they correctly disallowed the goal. But I'm saying it was just, hey, I had a moment. Yeah, it's not official. Hey, whatever, I'm gone.
Yeah, it's just, between Luis Tejada and Gabby Torres, those guys can absolutely do a disappearing act as well and do nothing. So you're relying on those 3 guys. I don't know that Abidel Arroyo and Ismael Diaz are going to do too much. You're still relying on a lot of the dudes that we know from all these times. Anibal Godoy, he can hit it, but will he have the time to hit it? Gabriel Gomez, fine. Alberto Quintero, that kind of deal. Felipe Valoy is still playing for this team. Of course, Roman Torres, Michael Murillo, who plays for the Red Bulls. I just, I just, look, Jaime Pinedo is great. If he's going to wind up being the guy in goal, he's won them games sometimes, and he might be the guy that keeps it at 0 for a long period. But it just, I think they're gonna fight. I don't think they're gonna give up very easily. But outside of the Tunisia game, I just don't see them getting much points.
Nah, 1-3 if they're lucky, but that's about it.
Well, Eric, I mentioned that Tunisia will be without their best player in Sami Khedira's brother, Rani Khedira.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you? That's got to really hurt their chances even more. They already had slim chances as it was, and people made a big deal about their group, but they didn't have the hardest group either in qualifying. So
they really didn't, and especially now that the revolving story is while they're playing their friendlies, they had a little internal gentleman's agreement to where their keeper would fake an injury so everybody could break their fast on the sidelines. I gotta say, weird, clever, but very weird.
Wow.
Oh, yes. All of a sudden, their keeper's laying flat on his back in the 58th minute, and then the entire team rushes over to chug water and eat some dates. And the next thing you know, like Spinach and Popeye, they come back and rescue a couple of 2-2 draws.
Eat some dates.
God.
Okay, we're even. Yeah.
I didn't even mean it that way.
You know for a fact that those were dates that they were eating here.
Well,
yes, we're even.
Well, yeah, they even had it on a couple of different articles that were published. It was like right on the sidelines. It's like, yeah, and I'm like, it's a convenient snack and what have you. And if they're being that religious, you're not going to all of a sudden chug testosterone tablets or wash everything down with the clear like Barry Bonds did. But that's beside the point. The point is,
they did draw with Portugal.
They did, but outside of coming back, rescuing those draws, which they're not going to have to do because by the time they start the World Cup, Ramadan will be over. So that's one thing. But if you look at their entire 23-man roster, even with the draws against Portugal, even with the draw in Switzerland against Turkey, you're relying on a lot of 1-0, 2-1, 0-0 score lines because 1-2, you're talking about 35 goals combined for Tunisia in their entire roster. Wabi Kazri leads them all with 12. Think about that.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, it's hard to take a lot out of what they did in their group because of who they played. And, even if you're going back to March, they do have a good record. They haven't lost since then. I mean, they beat Iran and Costa Rica as well.
Yeah, they've been... You can go all the way back to the African Cup of Nations where they beat Egypt 1-0. They're unbeaten in their last 9.
Mm-hmm.
Great. But again, when you're playing powerhouses like the Democratic Republic of Congo and Guinea, woo.
They are playing Spain on the 9th, so
that's going to be the biggest test. That's the Tunisia where it's like, hey, if you were going to places like Delaware or Vegas to place your bets, that's the match to watch and analyze.
The good thing for Tunisia, though, is their schedule works out really nice for them. They get Panama at the end.
Yeah, and again, that's going to be the one to where, Belgium and England are probably already going to be qualified, and it's like, hey, let's just have this one match party. before we go on and face Swaziland in African Cup of Nations qualifiers. And I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that they drew Belgium on my birthday because it's like, well, why am I going to be interested in that match? I mean, I'm going to do it, but
maybe Tunisia shows us something against England. Yeah,
maybe
you never know.
But yeah, I mean, potentially they could because you have a lot of French club football in here. You got Saifeddin Kawi for Troyes, Kazri for Rouen, Elie Chikri for Montpellier, Bassem so. Wait, wow, that is a weird combination of letters even for me. Dwarfi for Nice. Ooh, okay. Yeah. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, it seems like a tall task, you would think, for Tunisia. But again, I mean, you still got to play these games. It is interesting that they're going on this unbeaten streak. The game against Spain on the 9th will be very interesting to see how they come in to the World Cup. Do they finally get that loss? Do they hold on to something? Who's going to be that breakout player for them now that their main star is not going to be there? But yeah, I mean, this seems like a rather simple group to predict. But I would say that still think I'd give Tunisia a little bit of a nod because they have, even though it's been a bit, they have the experience of having done this before.
Yeah, as a country, they've done this before, but as these individual players, I mean, outside of your keeper, your most capped field player, Siam Ben Youssef, 41 caps. Nothing to sneeze at, but still, when you've got a bunch of guys, 3, 4, 6, 8 caps, it's like, yeah, maybe we'll want to make that a 60.
Yeah, they haven't qualified since 2006 until this year, and they've never gotten past the group stage, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, that's about where you'd expect them to be.
Yeah, that trend is going to continue.
Yeah, the battle's definitely going to be between Belgium and England. Could Panama or Tunisia pull off a surprise? It seems rather unlikely. Yeah, that big game between Belgium and England at the end is going to be one to watch because it could settle everything. Or maybe it's all decided by then if one of them has a shock loss or something like that. So, yeah, once again, I don't know that there's a whole lot to discuss in this group because of it's really revolving around two teams. And for me, I feel like whatever these teams do in these friendlies beforehand, it's very difficult to take anything from it because we've seen, I've personally seen coming into World Cups, teams that are coming in on fire, they're whooping teams in the friendlies. They get to the World Cup and it's like, wow, we just hit a wall. What happened to that team? And then you get to teams that are like struggling, and then, the World Cup, and the lights turn on bright, and it's like, wow, that's not the team that we've been seeing. So really it's when they step on that field, on that first game that they play in their group, how they are on that day, that's what you're looking at. So I think it's a good frame of reference to use all that, but I think the people that like really key on that a lot is you're fooling yourself because none of that matters at the end of the day right now. They all qualified, they all here, all 32 teams, the same deal. It's just not everybody's the same once you get on the pitch. But yeah, so these last two groups you might have figured out where our choices lie when we get to the big show on Sunday, but maybe Group H will provide a little bit more intrigue when we get to that one tomorrow. That's the last group to cover there. As far as this one, I think that's it here for us talking about Group G. So if you like what you heard, of course, you can always subscribe Soccer to the Max. You'll get all of our World Cup previews that we've done already. And you'll get Group H and the big predictions show and our World Cup daily episodes. We will be talking about the games, not after they happen because all three of us are working, so we're probably having to go after the 9 to 5. Or perhaps, Eric can catch one at work or I can catch one at work. But it's going to be very hard to be catching all 90 minutes of all three games while at work. We're going to have to go home and watch some games and all that stuff. So it'll probably be later at night that we get to cover all this and then do it all again the next day. So hopefully you're appreciative of that. And, you'll give us a review on iTunes or wherever it is you listen. Leave comments on YouTube, w2net.com, wherever. Last Word on Soccer, where you can also go catch Rachel's writings there, various things of hers, and everybody else's that you should go read over there. And yeah, so here's what's coming up. We have Group H preview on Thursday, probably Friday at some points when you'll be listening to that. Then Sunday, we'll do our big predictions show along with our final regular show focusing on sort of the American side of things before we take a break from the regular show for about a month to just go full head on to the World Cup. And then we'll let our moments we'll just take in as it gets closer and closer to the World Cup, just rest our voices and get ready for that. Not just that first game against Saudi Arabia, Russia. We'll get a little bit of a reprieve because then right after that, the next day starts the whole 3-game grind every day. Oh, and I forgot also Thursday, tomorrow, U.S. women play China. We'll also have our thoughts on that game as well separately from the World Cup preview. So, all right. Until tomorrow. We'll see you later, everybody.
Peace.
See ya.